Welcome back to Marlins 9. My name is Jeremiah Geiger. Today is Monday, April 15th. Should have been recorded Sunday. Usually I do the Thursday and Sunday episodes, but the episode had to get pushed to the right just a little bit. And honestly, it's a good thing it was pushed to the right because there are some important topics that we need to get into today on the podcast. First off, Marlins dropped 2 out of 3 against the Braves. Yesterday's loss could not have been more painful. Atlanta and Miami, they have this thing where they'll play these games, and it seems that no matter what, in the ninth inning, when the Marlins are up, the Braves are going to find a way. The Braves are going to find a way to win in the most painful, gut wrenching way possible if you're a Marlins fan. And yesterday was one of those games. I think about 2018, Dansby Swanson. I distinctly remember the 6-run comeback in the ninth inning to beat the Marlins, walk it off. I remember 2021 4th of July game where the Marlins are winning. They score about 3 runs in the ninth, or Braves come back, score 4 to tie, and ultimately walk it off in the 10th inning with a pitcher hitting. I believe it was Max Fried. That game was very painful to watch and kind of go through, especially when it's your division rival. I hate the Braves. So yesterday, you kind of see it coming. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of saw this coming. You're up 7-6. You got the heart of the order for the Braves coming up. Ozuna leads it off. Albies, and you got or not Ozuna leading it off, but you had Ronald Acuna leading it off. Ozuna would follow down the road here. Acuna gets on. He gets on with a base hit, and from there, you just kind of had a feeling that you're down by a run if you're the Braves, you're up by a run if you're the Marlins, and against Atlanta, you can't make any mistakes whatsoever. Braves end up getting 2 guys on with 2 outs. Marcell Ozuna steps up, and to say there was a lack of confidence that I had would be an understatement. I did not have much confidence because I've seen this story play out way too many times. And Tanner Scott pitches great slider, start him off. Ozuna swinging out of his shoes. And he goes back to the slider with 2 strikes. It wasn't even a bad pitch, but he didn't bury it. He didn't bury it in the dirt. Still found the path of Ozuna. Ozuna hits a 3-run home run. Braves the win, 9-7. And I was not surprised in the least. But that one hurt. That puts the Marlins at 3-13 because just a second ago, you were thinking, wait a second, the Marlins are about to win a series against the Braves. And you start having these feelings creep in of, well, maybe the season isn't going in this direction yet. Maybe there's still hope for a turnaround. We just took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta. Like, no, none of that. That all goes down the drain. 1 pitch, and Ozuna puts the Braves up, and they win the game. So Marlins still haven't won a series. All year. They stay at home to face the Giants. For a 3-game series. And Edward Cabrera is called up to make his season debut Monday. And there's some interesting points to kind of go over this Edward Cabrera / the repercussions with Max Meyer, who has been optioned to AAA. So with the fact Edward Cabrera is coming up, I'm going to get into this first. I think this is a really good opportunity for Edward Cabrera. I talked about this mainly on the last podcast I put out last Thursday, where Edward Cabrera is essentially pitching for his spot in the rotation. He's pitching to prove that he can control. He has command. That's been the thing holding him back. It has never been the stuff. It's always been his lack of command. The walks, the high pitch counts. And suddenly you're only going 4 innings and you've walked 5. Can't happen. So it's really his last shot, his last attempt to prove to the Marlins front office and coaching staff that he is going to be a part of this team moving forward as a member of the rotation. Last year in the rotation, had some good times, had some bad times, ultimately gets optioned, could not figure out the command. So he's pitched a few rehab starts. You've seen some bad, you've seen some good. We talked about this, like I said, last podcast, so I'm not going to get into it too deep here, but a little bit sooner than I expected. I thought at the time I recorded the last episode that Cabrera would start against San Francisco. And then there was news saying he was going to likely have another rehab start. And then all of a sudden it's no, he's going to get called up to the majors. Here we go. Season debut. So season debut tonight. Excited to see how this goes. Really excited to see if he's figuring out the command issues, because that's the only thing holding him back. That's the only thing holding him back right now. But he had to come in and take somebody's rotation spot. He had to take somebody's rotation spot. You thought it would be AJ Puck. You thought with the return of Cabrera and with the return of Braxton Garrett that AJ Puck would be the one to go and move to the pen. Well, that's not the case. And not only is that not the case, that Puck is not going right now, at least, to the bullpen. Braxton Garrett has a setback in his recovery. He's experiencing dead arm. And the timetable on his return now is kind of unknown. You really don't know with that. And this is coming out today where Skip Schumacher says it's just probably going to affect his return. And there's really not many more details than that. But Braxton Garrett, it looks like, will not be returning to the rotation this week. So a little something to keep an eye on there is AJ Puck stick in the rotation, but the Marlins have optioned Max Meyer. That's the bigger point. Edward Cabrera returns. In order to create space for him in the rotation, Max Meyer is optioned to AAA. The best pitcher for the Miami Marlins this season, your former top prospect, your former 3rd overall pick, who was expected to really do really great things for you and gets Tommy John surgery, is forgotten about. Comes back into spring training, pitches well, isn't supposed to make the team, which coming off in spring training, when Max Meyer isn't expected to make the big league roster and is going to start off in the minors, it was like, it wasn't as frustrating as now, but it certainly was like, man, maybe you should give him a shot. He ultimately does get the shot because of the injuries to Braxton and to Edward Cabrera. And he took his opportunity and ran with it. He's had an extremely high swing and miss rate, one of the tops in baseball. He's had 3 really, really good starts, and his most recent start, he shut down the Atlanta Braves, the vaunted Atlanta Braves lineup. Because not only is he working his fastball, which is good velo, his elite slider, his changeup against Atlanta, his 3rd pitch, which has always been the question with Max, has always been the question, has been his 3rd pitch. And his changeup was nasty. Braves hitters were not figuring it out. And it's like, did he turn this corner all of a sudden where he's putting to bed the idea of him being a closer or a reliever? No, that dude's a starter. He's a dog on the mound, an absolute dog. I've always thought that Max was a starter. I've always thought that he could that he could continue to develop. It was just opportunity and then injuries. The Tommy John surgery. Like, you haven't seen him pitch in so long, but you saw him get back into spring training, and I saw him pitch, and it's like, okay, he has an opportunity here. At some point in this year, he's so talented, the Marlins are going to give him a shot. And they did, opening day roster. And now he's getting optioned to AAA, and it starts to feel as if the season is becoming a lost season. And here we go with the service time, where we got protecting him from further injury, whatever the front office wants to phrase it as. You're not trying to win. This is a move that is just infuriating as a fan. You don't make this move. You're 10 games under 500. It's April 15th. 10 games under 500. I mean, that's just sad. And your best pitcher, you're going to send off to the minors. To work on what? He doesn't have anything to develop in the minors. He's proving himself in the majors. Maybe you could say he has proven himself in the majors. I mean, the kid is special. Like rookie of the year type special. When I tell you that the changeup was the most important piece to his repertoire to develop into an elite starter, that is what it was. That third pitch, his slider is among the best of young pitchers, among the best in baseball in terms of spin rate, in terms of effectiveness. That's what got him drafted top 5 overall, top 3 overall. His fastball is really good. He can run it up to 96 miles an hour with movement. He incorporates a changeup, something that scouts have been saying for since he got drafted. Will he be able to throw an effective third pitch? And he is. Something is clicking. And all of a sudden, he's going back to the minors. No reason for it. You don't make this move. I don't care about the record. I don't care about, we need to protect his arm, innings limit, because Yori was still pitching. You don't make this move April 15th after 3 starts. You just don't. And as a fan, it's just frustrating. Am I surprised by it? No. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by anything this front office does at this point. Or doesn't do. Because lack of action seems to be the MO for this team. And for the ownership and front office. It's ridiculous. Best pitcher. Most potential in that pitching staff right now. Nah. Go to AAA. Why? Because we're losing? Because you don't want him to pitch? Like, just the fact of him being up in the majors and getting more experience against big leaguers and showcasing his stuff would be huge. The opportunity for him to develop not just physically on the mound, and work with the pitching staff and Mel Stottlemyre Jr., but also to develop mentally on the mound, to really get that confidence. Like, there's a huge difference between doing that in AAA for the foreseeable future and continuing to impress in the big leagues. Huge difference. So essentially what this is telling me is we don't care about winning. We know we suck. We're going to take our best pitcher, put him off in the minors because we can. Like, there's no point in having him up here. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The front office, like, an ownership has got to stop lying. They got to stop lying to the fans of this passive, hands-off approach where we're not going to say that we're going to tank. We're not going to say that we don't care about 2024. We're going to make you think that we care about 2024, but we're not actually going to do a damn thing to improve this team. Nothing. Like, Peter Bennix gets hired, and the whole mantra was one eye on the future, one eye on the present. Well, it's not. There's nothing to do with the present that you've done to help this club. Bruce Sherman, you said 2 years ago you're going to spend money. Oh, we got money. We're willing to spend it. What money? What have you spent? You spent one contract in Avisail Garcia, who turned out to be a total bust, and yet still gets to play because the contract is so bloated you can't move him, and you're not going to bench him when he's making $12 million a year. You refuse to try to sign Jorge Soler, your best power hitter, to a deal. You refuse to upgrade the catching position. The only thing you do is sign Tim Anderson to a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal, because without a shortstop signing, without a catcher signing, like, fans would really explode. Like, it's ridiculous. Just tear it down. Tear it down then. But don't be in this, oh, we want to compete. Like, no, you don't. You don't want to compete. Just cut out the bullshit. You don't want to compete. The farm system sucks. The farm system's terrible. You got trade pieces at the deadline who will get you some value. Are you going to move them? I mean, time's only going to tell on that. Like, if you don't consider moving Luzardo, if you don't consider moving Arias possibly, like, you right now, you got to start looking who's the building blocks for the future. We know Yori Perez is. Who's out for Tommy John. I tweeted out earlier, I thought that if you go through the rebuild, you got to identify the building blocks for the future, such as Yori and Max Meyer. And now you take Max and you just stash him in AAA. No, let him have the experience. Let him gain more experience as a major league pitcher. And they won't do that. They're not doing that. It's frustrating, guys. It is beyond frustrating as a Marlins fan. You see too much of this. You see too many seasons go completely to waste. You see rebuilds just fail. And then you see other teams that rebuild successfully and have just awesome success. And you want that. You want to see that. And I don't know when it's going to happen, because right now, realistically speaking, you're not doing anything this year. This team is on its way to lose 100 games. The injuries are starting to mount. Jake Berger, there's an oblique injury, onto the injured list. Talked about him in previous podcast episodes. Leading the league in RBIs. That's as a last week. He had 15 RBIs. Up on the leaderboard, having a really good start to the season. All of a sudden, gets hurt, goes down. The bad news just keeps coming for Marlins fans. It keeps coming. And you have this front office that isn't making any statements, anything to their fans. They're not taking any action to give this team a better chance in the future. So it's frustrating. It's infuriating. But the Max Meyer situation, man, that one takes the cake. That one's brutal. Best pitcher, earned every chance to be in the big league rotation, and you option him. I don't care if it's a lost season. I don't care if you're losing. He deserves to be up here, and I think would have more valuable experience developing against major league hitters than in AAA. But I don't make the decisions. Last thing I'll say is catching position. If you have any doubt that this front office isn't serious, look at the catchers. 3 for 48 on the season. 0.62 average. 0.62 average. The catchers are hitting .062. That's between Christian Bethancourt and Nick Fortes. Last year was bad with Jacob Stallings, Nick Fortes combo offensively. And I remember saying Mitch Garver's out there. You need to upgrade the catching position. You just have to. They didn't. They didn't care. They're calling up Johnny Pareda because Christian Bethancourt is going to the IL with an illness. So Bethancourt is going to make his major league debut, an 11-year minor league veteran, hitting .346 with Jacksonville right now. So hopefully he'll provide some more offense than a 0.62 average, because it really can't get much worse than that. Bethancourt is hitless. Marlins signed him over. Literally, might as well keep Jacob Stallings in that regard. But at this point, I mean, Bethancourt defensively is a much better defensive catcher and stronger arm than Stallings. But you needed somebody offensively, because right now you got 9 positions on the field with the DH. So 8 of those positions, one of them automatic out. And you didn't take the chance to improve on the roster. Should leave you no doubt that this front office doesn't care right now. That's the feeling I get as a fan, and it's incredibly frustrating. But I'm going to still watch this team. Edward Cabrera, guys, check it out. Got to see us start against San Francisco. Hopefully he limits the walks and he's figured out the command. That would be huge. But we'll be back. We'll be back with another episode. We're going to keep doing this year. Share the pod. If you like the podcast, share it. I'm trying to grow this thing. Got the YouTube channel up. Podcast is on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your pods if you're listening there. And thank you guys for listening, and let's go fish.